There's this misconception that blockchain is not necessary or needed for Western countries because we have already, the infrastructure to function. And that's true. It's a true statement that, that blockchain probably produces the greatest value for countries that don't have the infrastructure that we have. But there's still case to be made for blockchain to exist in Western countries because of the fact that it's very cheap to run a blockchain to a degree that it will decimate and completely obliterate the largest, portion of economy. And maybe that's the reason why this misconception is being perpetuated, because it poses a threat to economies, advanced economies. Because what are you going to do with all these people if the logic gets transferred to a piece of code that a multi-million-dollar company used to produce? So it's kind of an existential dilemma for developed countries. But I think in the long run, they will have to sort of restructure themselves around these new technologies. The reason why I mentioned this is that it's a disruptive technology. The blockchain is a very disruptive technology in the sense that it's fundamental, in the sense that it could be used across many different sectors, and it is very cheap in such a way that it completely, as I was saying, obliterates the need for certain companies or sectors to exist. And that is immediate. It's not like, blockchain right now isn't usable, but 10 years from now, it's going to be a problem. Usually the technology evolves in such a way that you have very crude, first iteration of technology. You have prototypes, and then the prototypes turn into first products, and those products are really clunky and expensive, and then the incumbents could basically laugh at them. If you look at history, digital cameras were really expensive in the beginning. The cell phones were really expensive in the beginning. We had pay phones, and nobody, I've seen an interview from Goldman Sachs, the head of Goldman Sachs, who said when cell phones came in, I thought that it's just a fad because we have payphones on every corner. But he was wrong, because cell phones became cheaper, and the incumbents became cell phone companies. But in the beginning, the cell phones were really expensive. But what they do when the new technology comes, what it does, it gives the incumbents the time, 10 years or whatever, and they see that what the new technology is capable of, and it kind of they can calculate its trajectory and reorganize themselves. So the AT&Ts of the world in the United States, who owned a vast network of payphones, for instance, they transformed themselves into cell phone companies, right? Now, blockchain doesn't give you that luxury, because if you are a company right now, right, and you are producing your economic value by producing some service that, that could be replaced by the blockchain. And if blockchain comes in and replaces it, especially the open blockchain that is owned by no one, then both the country loses its grip on economic activity. The taxation dollars could go nowhere. The economic activity, if it moves into an open blockchain away from the jurisdiction that it existed in, it becomes an existential threat. And that creates these kind of like uneasy questions for the society. So the way I see the space developing in the future is that open blockchain, because it's open and because it's going to develop at a faster pace than anything else, because it's just it's been there in the beginning, will produce the most benefit for the developing world that do not have the resources to invest in creating their own blockchains. But countries like the United States will have their own version of the blockchain. The way I see it is that we will have a sort of government sanctioned blockchain or whatnot, where the companies could exist on top of it, and it would have to be limited to people who are living here. And in order to have access to it, you have to sort of, have legal ways of accessing this blockchain. and new industries will die and new industries will spring up on top. So that's the way I kind of see the whole space developing. And in that case, in that scenario where powerful countries, the Western countries, have their own blockchain, they talk to each other, you don't necessarily have to give up the economic activity to an open blockchain, for instance. You probably will still have interoperability, but your country will still run on an sort of a version of an open blockchain for your citizens that would, you know, that would be on a piece of technology that is very efficient.